you don't see a lot of other documentaries on other churches that make them look bad. It's ours. It's because Satan is attacking the church.
Right.
And he's doing it through its members.
No doubt. They're wanting some kind of gratification. So here's Satan knowing that the gathering of Israel is going to start gaining momentum and temples are going to start dotting the earth soon.
Yes.
And so what this did is in this vision, it showed that missionary work continues in the spirit world.
We don't really know where the world is gonna go, but now everybody knows that you can't stop for too long. Got to keep going. Don't really know where the world is gonna go.
Brothers and sisters, welcome once again to another edition of the Zion Zeitgeist. I forgot the name of the program. That's the second part of it. Zion Zeitgeist, I forgot the name of the program, with Terry Hohen and Troy Abel's Unleashed, right? It's Unleashed?
I think it's Unleashed. Yeah, I think we're unleashed here.
We're totally unleashed. Like somebody just let the guard gates up and we're just on our way. So what's up, brother?
Oh, I just finished watching this video called Devil in the Family with Ruby Frankie.
Oh, right.
Dude,
now
that was
I want your honest opinion. Well, after you finish, I got to ask you a question about that. Go ahead.
I think there was some serious demon possession involved.
No, you think it was that?
I really do. I think the psychiatrist was possessed by a demon. From the recordings, she was like saying, she's mine. She is all mine. When the demon was saying that, it was coming through her mouth and you could see she was totally possessed. And then when Ruby started hanging out with her, she looked possessed. Like it got in with her, and then she started abusing her children. I mean, it was really bad. And honestly, my takeaway from that, and listening and watching all of these other LDS documentaries that just make the church look so bad.
Like, what's her name? Daybell?
Oh, yeah. It makes me think you don't see a lot of other documentaries on other churches that make them look bad. It's ours. It's because Satan is attacking the church.
Right.
And he's doing it through its members.
No doubt.
With all of these shocking stories of families completely losing it, starting cults, killing their children. It's bad.
But how much do you think of that was demon possession? Okay, so when she said she's mine, that was on camera?
Yeah. Yeah.
When was that?
It was the second episode, like middle of the second episode. If you watch it,
and that's what's her name?
Yes, Hildebrandt. Jody Hildebrandt.
Yeah, the counselor that kind of screwed up a lot of people's lives because they went on there, some husbands and wives, and they're like, yeah, this she favors the women, I guess, all the time, and then separates them, puts them in different groups, and then the guys are in these guy groups, and they're being told how horrible they are.
Yeah.
And the women are like, you've been subservient to some Master Mahan priesthood holder wannabe that's just trying to drive you're a slave to him, and he's misrepresenting his priesthood. Wasn't she active though? She was.
Yeah, she was.
Totally active.
Totally.
And you don't think this is just extreme alt-right stuff going on to an umpteenth power? It was more of a, because I'm conservative, and I'm not talking about conservatism. I'm talking more like, were she, because I believe in true conspiracies, but were these like ape nut conspiracy theorists, wacko jobs, like, I don't know, or what was the deal? What was behind all this? We're going to reprogram these kids so that they're not disrespectful.
Well, they really believed that the kids were possessed. That was their story. And in her journal, she was saying, I have to inflict pain on my children to get the demons out of them.
Oh my goodness.
So she would punish them, make them sleep outside, tie them up, starve them, just
so
torture them.
spiritualism was involved in this.
Yeah.
It wasn't just
It was all
the new
driven
generation
by,
of kids, and we need to break them and train them to be more respectful to their elders, kind of thing.
yeah.
And
Yeah.
and
It
beat
was
the,
so
we're going to
bad.
beat the devil out of them, but really the devil's inside of us.
Yes.
And it's the other way around.
That's exactly what it was.
So now we're beating the devil out of.
Yeah.
Wow.
And really the sad part of the whole thing was the father wasn't there to protect the children. And he was brainwashed too, to think that his wife was doing everything that she was supposed to be doing with the kids and the family. And he was kicked out of the house because he wasn't like worthy to be with her, and he believed it because Jody told him, and he was going to these weekly meetings with Jody and all these other men that had addictions, and he was just trying to get back in with his wife that he was blindly in love with. It's just crazy that he didn't, have the cojones to come out and just say, hey, no, this is wrong, and I'm going to protect my children. And it really makes me upset that he was so blinded that he didn't even step up to protect those children. I mean, they were abused, and it's really sad, really sad.
So with that in mind, we thought we would start off dark for y'all and then go light.
Yeah, there we go.
Dark to light instead of light to dark.
Right.
And so the light would be, speaking of spiritualism and dark forces, let's talk about some correlations with Joseph F. Smith, who was the fifth prophet of the church, the vision that he had, which relates to everything we're doing today with gathering Israel. And why was it so timely that he had, and it is related to spiritualism a little bit, during the turn of the century, the saints were dealing with temptations of every kind, spirits. This is when séances were starting to take off. And then all of a sudden, and there were dabblings, and all of a sudden the prophet has this vision of the spirit world, and maybe some chastisement a little bit. What did you find out?
Yeah, just that, while they were looking at the passages of the Apostle Peter about Christ preaching to the spirits in prison, that he had that vision of the spirit world and all of the righteous spirits that had been faithful to their testimonies of Jesus, that they were there and they were anticipating their forthcoming, and that Christ himself didn't personally visit the disobedient spirits who had rejected the gospel, but instead he organized the righteous spirits and commissioned them to carry the message to those in spirit prison, so that they all would have the opportunity to accept the gospel. And so that,
right.
Yeah, that's what I understand the vision to be with him, and I just think that would be such a neat thing to, just see in general, but also to be a part of. And I know, we participate in the gathering on our side of the veil, but to see the other side would be so cool, and that's what he experienced.
Yeah, and it was almost like, because we forget the church went through phases. Every 50 years, the church does change a little bit. And I don't mean the gospel changes. I mean, think about what we were focusing on 30 years ago. Okay? Each revelation, each momentum that is acceleration of an ongoing restoration happens. You've got spiritualism, things happening. And it did during the turn of the century. And even the saints were dabbling in things they didn't know they weren't. Like today, you've got, what's the thing that came out in, we're almost repeating that time, in the church handbook of instructions, not to dabble with energy healing.
Oh, yeah.
It's in the church handbook now.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people got into that.
And they're getting back into it.
And it's always when we're trying, Satan starts doing that during a time of hastening of the spirit of Elijah.
Mm-hmm.
We should be going to the temple. We should be focusing on these righteous spiritual things, not dabbling in these things that are of darkness, and they are.
A little house cleaning. The Firm Foundation Expo, featuring the 35th International Book of Mormon Evidence Conference, is coming up, faithfully exploring relevant LDS topics of our time. Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, 9 a.m. to 9 p.m., April 17th, 18th, and 19th. That is Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, 2025. And where will it be? It won't be at the same place that we went to last time. No golf courses this time. But it will be at the Conference Center at Miller Campus, Salt Lake City, actually in Sandy. Y'all know where Sandy is. That's where my mission home was in 1992. 9750 South 300 West Sandy, Utah, 84070. The Gail Miller Conference Center, main stage, soft seats in raised auditorium, building 3 MFEC registration, main speakers and vendors, building 2. KGMC, breakout speakers and vendors. Details, call Ryan Nelson. Yes, your friend and my friend. Yes, that guy that we all see when we come into the front entrance. His name is Ryan, and his last name is Nelson. Call him at 801-931-9031. That is 801-931-9031. The 35th Book of Mormon Evidence Conference, and I will be there. Okay, let's get started.
Jessica Alba, have you seen that?
No.
Jessica Alba, actress, she's dabbling in witchcraft and posting it on Instagram. She's just a really popular actress.
Oh, right,
I think she played in Fantastic Four and a few other things.
Oh, right, yeah.
Right.
Okay, gotcha.
So she's posting how to do spiritual healing through crystals, tarot cards, readings, and using just a bunch of different things. It's all witchcraft, and it's kind of a big thing. My mom kind of turned me to it. I was just like, what? She's like, yeah, have you heard about Jessica Alba? And I'm like, what? But I think that's kind of a thing right now of interest with people.
Was your mom interested in that stuff?
No.
Okay.
She's heard about it and told me like, hey, you need to check this out. And because a lot of these big people like her that have influence, people follow. And
yeah,
if she's doing it, others are going to do it.
Well, it was around the late 19th, between the 19th and 20th centuries, there was a rise in both spiritualism and séances. And people think, Utah was probably sheltered from that. We were all just being these righteous people all the time. Well, the saints were righteous. Sometimes they sin ignorantly.
Mm-hmm.
And there were dabblings. And I would say doctrinally sound alternatives to these practices. And I don't think they were just alternatives. I think this vision that he had was like the Lord saying, look, we need to redirect the saints to something that has to happen, and Satan's taking them over here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I'll show you spiritually. You want to feel spiritually fulfilled, and people will do that sometimes when they are not. Because I'll tell you, the reason people will love videos and podcasts, and I know that because I do them, about miracles, patriarchal blessings, temple things righteous things that happen in the temple, the second coming, is because they lack in the fulfillment of those sometimes. And so here's Joseph Fielding Smith saying, he's affirming the reality of the spirit world. He's describing It's organization and purpose. At the same time, this is emphasizing the continued work of righteousness in the afterlife, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And this revelation's redirecting the focus from communicating with the dead through seances. And he's saying, no, go to the temple. That's how you connect with your dead.
Yeah.
And understand this
Exactly.
divine plan of salvation, the redemption of the deceased, and the gathering of Israel. Here's the momentum. Now, during this prophet's time, right now, it was the same thing. Energy healings and crystals and different ways to connect instead of doing the work.
Yes, and you're exactly right. People will go to all sorts of lengths, regardless of how dangerous it can be, to get that feeling of that spiritual other side, no matter how dangerous it can be. And people that are they're dabbling in things that they have no idea of what they're doing with Ouija boards or whatever, and trying to have some connection, probably out of curiosity, but then giving themselves up to possession or whatever it takes. And that's scary, because they're looking for it in the wrong way. Just side note here. So my grandpa just turned 83 today. And he called me this morning at like 4:45 while I was on my bike, and we had a hour and a half conversation. And at the end of the conversation, it was, he said, you have to keep things simple. You're going to have, moments of, clarity and spirituality in your life. You're also going to have moments where it's just like dull, lame, whatever. But you're going to kind of go through these points of your life that, but he said, you don't want to complicate things. You just got to keep it simple. And he was right. As Elder Holland's wife, right before she passed, 6 months before she passed, she gave a talk in BYU, and she said, if I were to give one recommendation to the members of the church, it would be to keep it simple. Simplify your life. Don't make things complicated. And I think some people get so caught up into wanting to have the spiritual high all the time that if they're not feeling it or having it, then they look for it elsewhere.
And they should be seeking, instead of these ear-tickling, eye-catching, and all the senses, sensationalism things, reaching for something that's going to fulfill something. We're supposed to be seeking that through the scriptures. We're supposed to be seeking that through the temple. We can have those things, but they're done responsibly, and they're done with purpose. God doesn't manifest himself without a purpose. He's not. Satan will do that just to gratify you, and then he leaves you with empty.
Yeah,
it's going to leave you empty every time.
Before I forget, brothers and sisters, if you are enjoying the content, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe, and ding the bell for notifications. Your support means the world to me and helps the channel grow. And hey, if you want to contribute to the program, I do prefer Venmo first, then Cash App, then PayPal, then Zelle. And I've got cool products. I got cool merch. That's all being designed. I get a percentage of it. And that's if you're interested. Remember, your comments are what keep this community thriving. So drop your thoughts below. And if you're feeling extra generous, consider becoming a YouTube member or sending a super thanks right there. The button's right below the screen during our videos. Now back to the topic.
It's interesting, brother, because going back to Joseph F. Smith, not Joseph Fielding, don't be confused, folks, because Joseph Fielding Smith was the 10th prophet. His dad was Hiram's son. So we're talking the nephew of the prophet Joseph Smith is Joseph F. Smith. His son is Joseph Fielding Smith, who was prophet when I was born. Now, Joseph F. Smith, what he's doing, he's reinforcing. And it's like we're repeating the flapper days even of the 1920s a little bit, And I know this was before the 20s, but people were kind of liberal thinking at that time, and like you said, they're wanting some kind of gratification. So here's Satan knowing that the gathering of Israel is going to start gaining momentum and temples are going to start dotting the earth soon.
Yes.
And so what this did is in this vision, it showed that missionary work continues in the spirit world. It also emphasized the importance of temple work for the dead. Then this is huge because this knowledge wasn't that, it was vague. People are like, we know we're doing some work.
Yep.
But you got to understand, temple work evolved. Just like people used to multiply get baptized to renew their covenants. It was almost like taking the sacrament every 3 to 5 years. I'm going to get rebaptized. It's like renewing your covenants. It wasn't bad, but it wasn't necessary.
Yeah.
And so you've got missionary works continuing, the importance of temple work for the dead, and connecting the gathering of Israel to the redemption of the dead. So this is trying to stifle out Satan's his objectives, right? To get these people to dabble. So this gave new purpose for the saints, and they're like, oh, we should be doing this, not doing these dark things that leave us empty. And it's part of a larger divine plan that they saw that was extending beyond mortality. And this was also during the time of Rasputin. And remember him with the Russian revolutions beginning, Vladimir Lenin. It was the Tsar.
The Tsar.
The Romanov family was shot, executed, and what's interesting is the Romanovs. I forgot, Queen Romanov. What do you call her? Was she the Queen of Russia? Yeah, she was the wife's Tsar, the Tsar's wife. She kept a spiritualist. What would you call them? A shaman around with her. So shaman and people like that were very popular. Crystal balls, things like that. Yeah, during this time, tarot cards,
oh my
all
gosh.
that stuff. Yeah, it's just interesting that you opened up with this.
Yeah,
very timely.
Yeah, it's crazy.
But you know what else it did, brother? Is it provided this criteria for identifying righteous spirits and countering potential imitations. Like righteous spirits were organized and engaged in the work of salvation. They were led by Adam, Eve, and other prophets. But what this did is it helped the saints discern between true spiritual experiences and misleading ones too. So it showed vicarious work for the dead was important in God's plan, and that we're not just calling upon our ancestors and leaving them hanging. Okay, what do you want? I'm here. I don't know. I just wanted to connect with you. Well, you don't even know if I am your ancestor or not. I could be the devil in disguise.
See, and that's the thing. They're smart. Have you seen that movie Nefarious?
No.
Oh, dude. You got to watch it. You got to watch Nefarious. It's extremely good. It's basically about a guy that's on death row. He's having an interview with an attorney to determine whether or not he is sane for the death penalty, or if he should go to an insane asylum. So it's a prisoner who is possessed by a demon named Nefarious, and he has a conversation with this demon, and it is very, very interesting. Wow. At the end, Glenn Beck makes an appearance at the end of the movie. It's kind of interesting.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So this was based on a true story?
No, it's not a true story, but the conversation that's had between the attorney and it's right up our alley with a lot of what we believe. It just kind of makes it, I don't know, real in a way, because I do believe in demon possession. I do believe that happens. And I think a lot of the actions that take place that are nefarious, are because of demon possession to some degree. We open ourselves up to it when we do alcohol, drugs, whatever.
Yeah. And they're
we
so
don't. Yeah. We don't make decisions like we normally would if we weren't under the influence. And I think because we open ourselves up to those demons to come and lead us down the wrong path.
Yeah, and I remember mentioning that, I think, on the video I did either yesterday or the day before, where I'm talking about possession. Like you said, it could be so subtle. Demons don't want to be exposed, so they will be in somebody and you not even know it.
Yes.
That person might not even know they're possessed. Until it gets to the point where there's a legion of them and then it gets chaotic. Mm-hmm. But a lot of times what you're saying is, am I right, that it could be very quiet and
yes.
and very conniving and calculating.
Yeah. Yeah, they don't want you to know that they're real and that they exist,
right,
because then that proves a lot.
Right. And just to wrap this up, during the time of Joseph F. Smith's Spirit World Vision, I thought about this and I go, how does this relate to President Nelson today and energy healing and those crystals and a lot? There might be people listening to this right now that don't agree with this, but it's in the handbook, brothers and sisters. You're not supposed to dabble in that stuff. Mm-hmm. And it's almost the same. It all related to the spirit of Elijah and the gathering of Israel. Satan comes and he mimics that spirit and he wants to take the saints away from doing the work vicariously for the dead. Mm-hmm. And what Smith, I hate just saying that, what the prophet Joseph F. Smith's vision showed was vicarious work for the dead. They don't just show up for nothing. We're doing work for them. We're saving them. We're giving them, it's a work. We're giving them the essential ordinances and covenants and powers to free them up to help us over here. Mm-hmm. Like the scriptures say, that the hearts of the children to the fathers as the hearts of the fathers to the children, and it's to help each other. We can't be saved without them. And people go, well, what does that mean? It means exactly what it says. They're not going to be able to help you over here as guardian angels if they don't have the priesthood and powers, and that you're opening up conduits for them to move and roam freely between dimensions, mm-hmm, and tables and temples and stuff. They can't do that without authority. And right, without the ordinances,
yep,
and those priesthood powers, and it also emphasized the connection between the living and the dead, not just through séances, like we said, because you don't know if it's a devil or not, or if it's your relative, but through temple ordinances. Yep. And it also provided motivation for the increased temple attendance, and Satan knew that. He knew that this was starting to happen, and he knows that it's happening again. So it was a very timely manner that this this happened.
Well, it's deceiving saints, and he sees it, and we need to be aware.
Absolutely. I love you, brother.
Love you too, man.